Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about internship and what you can expect, but also a disclaimer as always, your experience is probably going to be different than mine was, and that's okay. Also, I had my internship during a pandemic, so my experience is probably going to be different than yours. Unless you're going into it next year, some things might be similar, but let's get started and I'll tell you how my experience was. Okay, let me get a little bit into how internship is set up, at least how mine was set up. So you have a supervisor, and in the beginning, they're gonna tell you what they're doing and how their day goes, so you kind of just follow them around. Then when they feel like you're comfortable, they might give you a little something to do. Like, okay, now why don't you test this student? Why don't you call the parent or talk to the teacher, student, whatever that situation may be for depending on what you're doing. And then when you get comfortable enough, they'll just start to give you your own cases. So they'll just give you the student, and now you have to go and do all that stuff and put it all together and place it where it needs to be. So that timeline is usually within the first month, you're pretty much just seeing how everything works. After that, you're doing pieces of it, and about halfway through your internship, you'll probably be on your own for the most part. Like, they're still reviewing your stuff, your supervisor is, but you're the one putting it together because you'll have to know how to do that when you are on your own. With that said, when there's a pandemic, those timelines can kind of shift, especially if you're not in person all the time. For most people, they probably think, oh, school psychologist, you're in a building and you have whatever grade. So if you're in a middle school, maybe you have grades 6 through 8. In an elementary school, maybe you have kindergarten through 5th grade. My experience was different because I was at an intermediate unit, which it's kind of like a place that's in a county or a city, and they contract out to different schools. So you have your home base, and then you're the school psychologist for different schools in the district. So you don't have an office in the building where you have internship. So that's how my internship was. And then we were on specific projects. So my project for internship was the transition program. So all my students were 17 years or older, and I had one school where it was a technology program, so there were people going for auto, for nursing assistant, medical assistant, working to be a veterinary technician, things like that, and we were the school psychologists. So it wasn't a typical classroom experience. That was one of my programs. Another program that I had was a different transition program for students who graduated high school already and were going to go out into the workforce. So a lot of those kids are between like 18 years old and 21 years old. So I had an older population that I was working with. That makes the situation way different than if I was working with children in elementary school. The problems are different. There's different things that you need to be aware of. For example, whenever I was doing a reevaluation, I would have to ask the students what their plans were after graduating, which is something that you wouldn't have to do if you're working with a younger population. But when students have an IEP and they are graduating out, you want to make sure that they are able to function in the real world and can take care of themselves, like by driving, working, doing chores, things like that. And of course, asking the parent if they have any information on that as well. There's another component, because along with doing all of that, for your program, you have a whole list of other things. Now, I was a NASP approved program, so this was how ours was set up. So again, you're doing stuff for your internship. Then for your program, we had 2-tier projects to do. So it could be a tier 1, 2, or 3 project. And basically you needed to find kind of a case and put it all together and collect data, see how they're improving. So for example, something that I did was work with a student on math, and that was a tier 3 project. And I got all the background information from the student, the parents, the teacher, worked with this student on the math skills. While I was doing that, I would see if there was progress made over time, and was writing that on a graph, collecting all the data, and then we present it to the class, and that's kind of like our end presentation that our grade is based on. And it's like a paper, but you have to have all those things included. So we had one that we presented and one that we didn't, but we had 2 altogether. So like I said, I did a tier 2 and a tier 3 project for that. I know this video is really broad and probably all over the place, but I just wanted you to have something that you can base off what your experience will be like. Again, everyone's experience will be different. I know my experience was so much different than everyone else in my program, especially for the people who weren't in an intermediate unit. So they were just in one school. So their internship is way different than what mine was. So that was how my internship was, which again is way different. Now, on top of that, like I said, there was the pandemic, so my experience isn't as traditional as some people's are. I was lucky enough to be able to be in person most of the time. Pretty much I would go in, and some days, like I said, I'd be in the one program, some days I'd be in the other program, and I would do everything that I had to do in person, and then I would take that, and anything I could do at home, I would do at home. So maybe I needed to interview a kid to get a reevaluation done. So I would go in person, do that, write up the reevaluation at home, which actually was kind of nice because for the writing part, you don't have to be there if you can just write it from home. So I really enjoyed that part. And also, don't think that you're gonna know everything when you're done with internship. Honestly, a lot of us are still really nervous because when you're in an internship, you have your supervisor to go to if you have any questions, and then you're gonna be on your own. But you know what? That's okay because you're gonna learn and you'll be fine. You have so much knowledge that you don't even realize until you're using it. I felt like that even as an intern when I had to start doing cases on my own. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like in my head, I didn't say it, but I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel comfortable. And then I did it and it worked out and it was fine. So you'll be fine. But yes, that's how my experience went. Again, everyone's experience is different. And I hope that this video helped. I know it was a little all over the place, but a quick breakdown is kind of like you have work at your internship with your supervisor, and it's broken down from you're working with them to doing bits and pieces to doing the whole thing. And that's the internship. Then you have your class, and they will have a whole bunch of other things that you have to do. And it might freak you out because it seems like a lot, but you'll get through it, especially if you manage your time and break everything down and do a little bit at a time. It'll go so smoothly and the year goes by so fast, and then you'll be graduated and done. But if you have any questions that I didn't answer that you were wondering about regarding internship, leave a comment down below and I will try to answer. So, and if you also have any other ideas or questions for videos that I can do to help you for school psychology, also let me know, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.